Welcome back to the Motorcycle Garage, folks. We have something a little different for the next few videos. We got to get this trusty old steed into a decent enough condition to race at Malle Mile. So, I was down at the bike shed show last month, so thanks to everyone that came up and said hello and recognised me. Apologies if I was somewhat inebriated when we met. And thanks to the honest people who told me how short I was. That was nice as well. It's good to be told that you're shorter than people think, which is better than being told you're fatter than people think. So that was kind of a, yeah, interesting. I think about 6 different people commented on my height, so I'm not as tall as I look apparently. So anyway, getting back to this, a lot of the people that I met at the show were talking about how good the Malle Mile was, and I've never been before. Swithered about it, and then now that I've had this bike that's not really done anything since it was on the road, since it was at the bike shed show, and then this is bad, I feel bad with how dirty this is, but not really done anything since the bike shed show, and then having it on the road in 2020, it's just kind of sat here, which is a real shame. So I thought, let's go to the Malle Mile, let's enter some races in the novice class. It's not something I've ever done, but let's do it on this beast. So, last Saturday just passed there, I was starting it up and making sure it runs okay. So, it did start up okay, but there's a few bits and pieces we need to get sorted on this just to really make it race ready. I don't even know if race ready is the right thing. I just want to jump on it, drive it about, and hopefully the work that I do to try and get it to that state will allow me to drop it off and get it MOT'd and enjoy it. But some of the things we can look at, so obviously needs a good clean, we can do that at the end, but I think first things first, get the front brake back on, because that was taken off. I took that off and bled it off the bike because it was just really shit. Now playing with this brake pedal, this clutch pedal here, it seems like I could do with putting the bike in gear and moving it about a little bit, see what's going on with that clutch, see whether it feels a little bit dodgy. So what next? The carbs in this bike have always been, they run fine. They are GPX, they're Ninja 200 carbs, so they are a tight fit, but it's always been a real tight fit to get the pods in, because they run on pods, and I know that's sacrilege and a lot of adventure guys hate it, and it's probably not the best for the bike, but it was the only thing I could get on here just to try and get the bike running. So it used to run okay on these pods, but one thing that was a bit annoying, I'll see if I can get some close-up videos, was that they were awful. They fitted together really bad. So what I'm thinking, this with the width of the pods, again, in all of the move, they're packed away somewhere in a box. I need to find them along with a few of the other bits, but I need to try and get that sorted. What I'm thinking is, we'll take the tank off, take the seat off, get a look down, see what kind of shape we're dealing with, and I've bought some flexible 3D printing material, so I want to see if I can print out a couple of elbows to come from the carb out to the side of the shock a little bit, so I can have a couple of filters either side. So we get that fitted, get the rear brake. I took off the previous brake, which was down here, and that was a project I was working on before I kind of got sidetracked with the house. So I don't know what the fuck has happened here. Oh, it looks like it's petrol. Maybe. Let me try something. Have I had it started the other night, so I don't know whether it flooded the carbs or whatever. Maybe I forgot to turn the fuel off. Shouldn't make a difference. Anyway, we'll look into that. But yeah, it's just be nice to get it cleaned and get it back to its former glory. And I'm not going to go to the extent of changing heaps of bolts and stuff, but it'd be nice just to get this running good for the show, running good for racing around the dirt, to be honest. So yeah, we'll go and dig out some bits. It's really dark over here, but go and dig out some bits and set up the camera. Might try and start it over. Oh, that was one thing as well. Let me find it. Where's it gone? Where's it fucking gone? I had a literally looking at it the other day. Here, so I had a little bit here that I've been designing, which was a 3D printed light, but it's got these two number plate bits underneath. So again, trying to remember, this is a 6-volt system. I just need to see whether this LED will light properly. I can't remember what ones I bought and specified them. So one way to be able to do that would be the existing brake cable here. Figuring out what one just sends signal to the brake, and then what one is what one sends power to the brake, and then what one the signal is that runs off the brake switch, either on the handlebar and the foot switch. So been a while since I looked at this bike. I'm trying to think of it. I've not done much content on this video on this bike anyway, but it is pretty cool. It's a TT600, Yamaha TT600, for those that don't know or have not been following. So it's a pokey little engine. It's never ran as well as I would like, whether that's just due to, I think, the cylinder head, for example. I changed the head gasket and everything else in that, and now it's that stage where it's done a few miles that I need to tighten the head bolts and make sure that it's compressed down. So that's something I'll need to look at whilst the tank and everything else is off, and just generally fix and make sure everything's nice and tight, because it's probably going to get a bit of abuse over the 3-4 days of the Malle Mile. So and if anyone's going, let me know down in the comments. It'd be good to see you. You can catch up with me. You might not see me because I'm really short, but yeah, catch up with me and yeah, have a beer when we're not racing. So yeah, let's get camera set up and maybe see. I think I'll try and maybe tackle this brake first, if I can get the thing running, figure out what all that drop fluid is. I'm pretty sure it's petrol, but yeah, set camera up. Jesus fuck. The thing with the electrics on this is one runs off the stator and then one works off the battery with the ignition, so it's a bit strange. So the brakes and the headlights work when the engine's running, but the other stuff, the horn and the indicators, all work off the 6-volt battery. So I need to start it to check whether this brake thing works, so give me a minute. Okie doke. Let's choke, push the choke in. Let's see what it does now. 12 minutes, holy shit. Okay, sounds a bit angry, the bike. So a little bit of top end. I'm gonna close this garage door, try not to die of fumes. Try not to die of fumes, but okay, took a minute to get it started there. Interesting. So that you saw finally, that light, it seems to flicker. So whether that means it's something to do with a 6-volt signal, and this is a 12-volt LED. I need to check what I bought. 12 volts. That's probably not going to help. So that might be probably why it's flickering. However, proof of concept is that it works. But yeah, the bike sounds like it needs. We'll take the carbs off, and we'll do some measuring at the moment to see what we're dealing with. This is one of these things where I think I spoke about it before. So I built this bike, built it for the show. It's the first thing I built. I had ultra high expectations, and then you kind of come away from it for a few years and you go back and you go, there's things I'd like to do differently with this, just in just with a fresh mind and getting away from it. But there is bits of the bike I do really like. I think the tank and everything looks pretty cool. So the engine was always something that I hadn't done a huge amount of engine work. I mean, it runs fine, but I think it could run better. So some of the noise, there's quite a lot of chain whirring, top end noise that apparently, when I looked at this before, the bikes are common for it, but anyway, don't know what I'm getting at. Let me just take the tank off, get a few pictures, get some profiles curved, just to see what I'm dealing with, so I can then shove it into CAD and then try and model some kind of elbow, and then that elbow can then be used potentially get the carb sorted, and then need to dig out the carbs, need to dig out the front brakes, give the whole thing a clean, drop the oil probably, do an oil change, and then see whether I want to do the top end. I didn't show it here because it was because we were obviously quite noisy and trying to get the thing to warm up, but the cylinder head in here does kind of weep a little bit. There's also a little oil weep down here. It's things that I may or may not get sorted for this show. Realistically, I just want a bike that I can cruise about on and have fun in this show, so that the objective is just getting a bike that's safe to run around on and go from there. So anything else is a bonus really. So let's get the seat off, get the tank off, and we'll get the vernier gauge out and start doing some measurements and try and maybe get some welding rod that can bend some dimensions for the carburetors. Probably going to pull the carbs as well. It's a fucking nightmare getting them out, but it would be worth getting them out again, just to, they've been sat for a few years. Nice to take the float bowls off the bottom and see what we're dealing with. So there's a few bits and pieces here we can keep ourselves busy with. So Seems pretty crude. I actually tried to use a 3D scanning software on my phone, but there's just too much going on here for it to pick up and give me any sensible dimensions. So I know the OD of the carb is 49 millimeters, so I'm gonna just print my thing at 49 millimeters. And I know that this bend that I've made, if I model this profile, if you can see it on CAD, a 49 mil all the way around, then this should give me somewhere close to allow me to have my carburetor rubbers poking out from the carbs out here either side of the shock. So all I'm going to do now is take that and put it on a bit of, oh fuck it, I'll just show you, it might be easier. Just going to shove this, oh god, not got much light here now. I'm going to open the garage door. Okay. Just take a picture of that, and then against a known scale, then I can take that picture, put it into CAD, and then calibrate it against the squares in the background. That'll tell me the dimension of that, and it means that whatever I model will match this exactly. So that's one thing, so I'll give that a try when I go indoors and try to take some screenshots. The next is to try and find some other bits and pieces for this, and actually just take the carburetors off now. I think I'm going to take the carburetors off now, and that'll allow me access into the rocker cover. I can set top dead center, I can take the rocker cover off, I can tighten those cylinder head bolts, and then probably get an oil filter, do an oil change, all that kind of shit. So yeah, bits and pieces progressing. So I'm going to go take a picture of that first though. Okay, we found missing articles, brakes over somewhere down yonder. So I need to try and keep the focus and not worry about things that I would maybe like to fix, and just focus on things that I need to fix. So I'm going to try and get hold of a single cable throttle. Just, it's a good opportune moment to change it out. This is the dual cable thing that came with the bike. That's fine when you've got a carb setup that needs it, but this doesn't. So I need to order some new rubbers for in and around here, because they just deteriorated and came off, you can see, which is not ideal. Ugh. So need to get that sorted. Need to order an oil filter, and probably just need to dig out the manual to see how. It's a bit of a pain, it's quite tight, but I'm just taking the rocker cover off, so that's actually alright. But I need to drop the engine down slightly. So I just need to have a little look and see how that was done, because I can't quite remember. It's been a good few years since we've been in here. So looking at all the rest, I think it's okay. It's just grotty, and to be honest, it'd be good just to get it running, get it riding about again, enjoy it, and then just have it as something as an ongoing tinkering project, because it was nice having a bike that fires up and then I can actually play about with it. This is the bike that I put the Lambda probe bung in. So I've got one of these Lambda things, wideband Lambdas that you can connect to your phone. So connect that to the phone, then you can use the phone mount as a means of seeing what your who cares about speed, right? Because I've not got a speedo, but you can see what your fuel ratios are when you're riding along. You can tell whether you're too rich or too lean. Now this carb I think was ever so slightly too rich, but I think that was maybe something to do with not having these properly fitted. Who knows? Again, this will be good enough for pootling around in a field I'm not looking to set any records or anything. I'm just looking to get on this and have a good laugh, really. So and figure out what's happening with that rear brake, because having a functional brake would be useful. There's also a mud guard for this here. Toying with the idea of getting something else in there if I can make it work without too much issues. Got plenty of old offcuts and mud guards, so maybe something could get squeezed in there. If it's hell of a muddy, that might be useful. So go inside, try and get this thing modelled up and do a little bit of fact finding, figure out what we need to do next. Enough! Don't know how long that's been running. Whoopsie! Crisscross. And the acorn at the back. Interesting. Okay, so the 3D printed part that I spoke about earlier, it's been printed. It's not really worked that well. Well, it has worked. It's worked pretty well. It's mates up perfectly with this. I need to figure out how to get this bit mounted, so I need to do a bit of redesign. So we'll focus on that in the next video, because I'm conscious this one's getting on a little bit. But a quick update before we close this one and start the next one is we have a box of bits, oils, filters, things like that. So I need to go get some fluid for my ultrasound bath to chuck the carbs in, some cleaning fluid to get some bits and pieces sorted on the bike. Obviously, the tail end of that video you saw the cylinder head studs were all within the spec, within the manual, which is a bit annoying. I was kind of hoping for an obvious reason as to why the cylinder head gasket was showing some kind of leak once the engine heats up, so that's a bit annoying. I've managed to tighten the acorn nuts at the front and the back, which I can't get the torque wrench on. They tightened up a little bit. That might be enough just to nip it up a little bit more, but to be honest, it's probably a more longer term solution needed to take place. Either really confirming that the faces are flat where the cylinder head meets. I was 100% sure they were, but I checked them all with the straight edge and feeler gauges a few years ago, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely right. So a bit annoying there. We'll figure that one out. Not going to be a solution to fix in the time that I've got for the Malle Mile, but bits and pieces been coming in this week, so I've got a 6-volt version of that light now. It turns out it was 12 volts. I had ordered a 6, but they sent me a 12, but that was 2-3 years ago, so a bit difficult to go back and complain. But I have specified a specific 6-volt version that gets sent to me, so oils, filters, other bits and pieces to get the Scrambler back together. So can't do much with that cylinder head. I'll just live with it, weeping for the Malle Mile, and it's probably due something more intensive at a later date. So I'll do that at a later date rather than with 2 weeks to spare. So we'll close this video. We'll start the next one in the reassembly and everything we need to do on getting it ready for going to the Malle Mile. So thanks. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and leave me a comment. Let me know if you're going to be there, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you in a bit. See you later, folks.